March 12, 2020, order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Paragraph 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020, order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. Members of the public who wish to watch and listen to the meeting may do so in the following manner. On WCTV, Channel 9 on Comcast Xfinity, Channel 37 Verizon Fios, and live stream from wctv.org. This meeting of the Wilmington Planning Board is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately address the proceedings in real time. Via technological means, members of the public who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may also do so via telephone by dialing 1-646-558-8656 and enter the meeting ID 835-8253-5055, then press the pound key and press pound again at the next voice prompt. Members of the public attending this meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment by following the steps previously noted, then press *9 on their telephone keypad. This will notify the meeting host that the caller wishes to speak. All callers using this feature will be placed in queue in the order they entered the prompt. In the event that despite our best efforts, we are not able to provide for real-time access, we will post a record of this meeting on the town website as soon as we are able. So, let's see, what time is it? 7:35. You want to do the minutes of February 4th?
Mr. Chairman, if you could just do a quick roll call of...
roll call?
planning.
Sure.
Yeah.
Planning board members. Sean, are you here?
I'm here, Mr. Chairman.
Rondi, are you here?
Present.
Angela?
Present.
Terry?
Here.
Okay, I'm here. All present and accounted for. Cheryl, you awake over there?
Yeah.
Okay, we're good.
Thank you.
So take a motion on the minutes. I read them. They seem okay. I didn't catch any of
Finish them. So I move to approve the minutes as presented. Rondi.
Seconded, Terry.
Okay. All those in favor. Angela,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Rondi.
Yes.
I vote yes. Minutes are approved. What would you like to do next? You want to squeeze in the Form A?
Sure. So, Mr. Chairman, this is a Form A that we received for 100 to 104 West Street. There's a shift in the lot line. If you follow my cursor here, this line right here for lot 4A is being moved 2 feet. And I believe that's all that changes on here. I know, Bob, if you have anything else on this one, I know that you were involved in it, but I believe that's the only change with this is shifting this lot line 2 feet.
That was the only change on the plan, Valerie. It was more of a zoning matter than an A&R matter.
So you're good, Valen?
Yes, we're good.
Okay. Take a motion to accept the plan as submitted.
I'll move, Terry.
Second, Rondi.
Sean, how do you vote?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Angela?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Rondi?
Yes.
I vote yes. Plan is accepted.
All right.
We get a minute. do you need me to come in and sign that? Is that,
We actually need at least 3 people to sign it because our paperwork still hasn't been processed for the votes that you took many months ago.
I'm able to come in on Friday.
I
I can
come
swing
in,
by tomorrow.
and I can come by tomorrow.
That would be great.
I'm going by my computer clock, so still says 7:39. So Cheryl, I don't think there's going to be Pop Warner football, so I don't think you have to worry about parking now down at the town hall. So
This rate, we're never going to go back to town hall.
I know. Okay, we have a continued public hearing, site plan review 20-02, stormwater management permit 20-02 for 330 Ballardville Street. And we have, let's see, public hearing, site plan review for 20-06 and stormwater management permit 20-06 for 296 Ballardville Street. Who's up?
So I'll speak for the project. I'm Ed O'Connor. I'm the owner of Sear Construction. We've been retained by Monogram to build the parking lot and the addition. And as we know, it's been a long, winding road, and we're hopefully getting to the end of it. We submitted July 9th a new plan for a repaved, modified parking area to comply with the town's request for more parking spaces. We had our technical review meeting where planning made some comments which we were ready to address. Unfortunately, we did not get back anything from Paul until this afternoon. So we're going to obviously address those comments from Paul. He had mentioned at the technical review meeting he was going to get those to us, but they didn't come till today. So that was, to be candid, that was a little bit disappointing because the client was very interested in keeping people working and keeping this job moving forward. And these are difficult times for all of us, and we're trying to keep an ongoing business moving forward. So with that being said, we're going to address Paul's concerns as well as planning, and we plan to get those resubmitted as quickly as possible, but are very much looking to get the support from the town to review these as quickly as possible so we can get some some feedback and to move forward.
So what do we have for comments, Val? Are they mostly stormwater, or are they site, or what?
Yeah, Paul's comments are, I think, exclusively stormwater, or almost so. We had some smaller comments just to make some fine tuning to some of the parking spaces and some notes to the plan, nothing major. So they should be able to address those pretty easily and then address the stormwater comments as well.
You see a problem, Ed?
No, well, John Judd was on the call, and he was going to address the planning comments. Mostly they're things like numbering parking spaces and turnarounds and things that seem to be pretty reasonable things. It's just I have to keep going back to my client with, to be candid, very deflating news. And I'm just looking to try to get this information to flow back and forth a little quicker. But yeah, we'll do whatever we need to do to comply. And I understand Paul's probably very busy as well, but they're trying to keep things moving forward, and I think we all can understand how things aren't going the way we all think. From Pop Warner to construction to everything else. So.
Yeah, right. So is there anything that you got question on? Is there anything you want to go over?
I guess what's the process once John sends the revised comments back to planning? How do we keep things going? I'm it's always been my nature. I've been doing this for 35 years, not to be a pest, but to be persistent. And I guess I've tried to respect everybody's time and privacy. So I don't want to be a pest, but I also want to advocate for my customers. So I guess that's the biggest thing, is to give them the most accurate and feasible timeline.
So what do you see there, Val? Is there anything that Paul has a hang up on? Think we'll be able to close next meeting and have conditions, or what?
That's the hope. I think if the engineer has any questions about the comments, he should feel free to reach out to either our office or to Paul directly to go over those. Otherwise, we ask that we have 2 weeks to review those plans and get comments back out. Doesn't always happen that quickly these days, but we do them as quickly as possible.
So Ed, your engineer, he or she didn't have an issue with anything? They said they could take care of it, or what?
Well, John's on the call, so I think he could probably speak to that.
Sure, Ed.
Sure,
If
John.
I could, Mr. Chairman, thank you. John Judd, engineer, Gateway Consultants. I take no issue with any of Paul's comments. We can readily take care of these. I just wanted to make sure there was no additional comments from the board tonight before we, as Ed pointed out, we got these this afternoon, so we can take care of these and get these in first of next week at the latest. And my only question is the next meeting. It looks like your deadline is the 31st, and I'm just looking at the calendar. If Val needs 2 weeks, and you have them in by the 10th, that puts us at 3 weeks before the 31st. So the next meeting, Val, would that be?
So our next meeting is September 8th, and so we would need the plans by the 25th of August. Extra time is always good because it's taking extra time these days to get everything done.
We'll get them in well before that.
Great.
So would there be another technical review meeting, Val, or is that more of a John and Paul thing?
John and Paul thing.
Okay, good.
Yeah, the technical review meeting is just at the beginning of a submission. So, yeah.
So
Okay, so I guess
So
every
we'll-
town's different. After, if we get to September 8th or that meeting, how does it flow after that if everybody's on the same page?
well, we'll close on the 8th. We'll probably have the conditions if you answer everything. We'll probably vote on them that day. And then there's a wait, right, Bill?
Yeah, because there's a special permit, there is an appeal period for the special permit. So after that appeal period, you would be able to endorse the plans.
So how long is, sorry to interrupt, how long is the appeal period?
I believe it's 20 days.
Okay.
Okay, does the board have any questions? Sean, you have any questions?
Not now. Not at this
There-
time. Thank you.
Terry, you have any questions?
No, I do not.
Rondi?
No.
Angela?
No.
Okay.
We
Okay,
do have,
so
Mr. Chairman, we do have some callers on the line. We could ask them if they have questions, they could raise their hand if they do.
callers, anybody out listening? Anybody have any questions?
I know there's a little bit of a lag time for folks watching WCTV, but I don't see anyone raising their hand.
Okay, so I'll take a motion to continue the public hearing. Are we good for so he's gonna need an extension on the 330 Ballardville? Is that right, Cheryl?
Cheryl, we can't hear you. They do need an extension. Ed, the applicant would be agreeable to extend the action deadline to the end of September so that we can have the September 8th meeting.
Yeah, I don't think they have a lot of choice, but I would think so. Ron's on the call. Yeah, I would think so.
Ron, I just need you to speak up. Just verbally say you would like us extend the deadline to September 30th, 2020.
Certainly, we would like to have that extension, please, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. So if someone could make a motion to continue the action deadline on 330 Ballardville Street to September 30th and extend the public hearing to September 8th at 7:40 for both 330 Ballardville and 296 Ballardville.
So moved, Mr. Chairman. Rondi?
Second, Terry.
Okay, Angela,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Terry,
Yes.
Rondi.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Okay. See you guys then. We'll square this away.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry, Val, I should have asked you if 7:40 on the 8th was okay.
No, that's perfect.
Since you have the calendar, so.
You read my mind.
Okay. Okay, we had a 7:45, continue public hearing, site plan review 20-04, stormwater management permit 20-04, and parking lease special permit 20-03 for 100 Eames Street. Who's here?
Mr. Chairman, Attorney Robert Peterson for the applicant, Jamie Garrity of Garrity Stone. I believe Pat McCarty from McCarty Engineering is here. I believe Jamie is here as well.
Here. Yep. Hello.
Good evening. I'm here as well.
So what do we got here, Val?
So we received some revised plans. Maybe the engineer could go over some of the changes to those plans. I think there's a couple issues that we flagged for the board to discuss tonight. We did prepare draft decisions and we put placeholders in there for discussion purposes, but maybe just a quick overview of where we're at.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Patrick McCarty, McCarty Engineering for the record. I confess I came home to a 60-foot tree through my fence and into my pool and went back from that to the office to get everything ready for the meeting and had no power at my office. So I'm off to a great start this evening. So I don't have a lot of materials, unfortunately, with me due to the power outage. But we did submit revised plans on July 6th to planning and then followed up a set to conservation. Chance to go through them. He had a couple minor comments that are open that he was, he stated to me and to Valerie that he was fine. Comments be conditions of approval. One was relative to adding some spot grades. We have an opening in the curb at the rear of the building, and I do have one plan I can share.
I can pull up the most recent plan if that helps.
This is the most recent plan here. Okay. I did have this PDF in my email. So there's a break in the curb right here. The way the sheet flow runs, there's a break in the curb to let some water into the infiltration basin. He asked us to add a spot grade. There is an 83 contour here on the grading plan and an 84. So he just wants us to add the spot elevation at that break in the curb. And then he wanted us to amend the water quality volume calculations to include the volume coming off the rooftop, both of which are minor tweaks to the plan. And, you know, we'd be pleased to have those as conditions of approval. As far as traffic, We added parking bumpers here where the sidewalk is flush with the pavement so that cars can't park on the, pull up all the way onto the concrete sidewalk that leads to the handicap ramp. And I think,
Patrick, I don't know if we mentioned that we removed the parking area on Eames Street.
oh yeah, I think that yeah, we
Can't
did
remember,
remove the, I'm sorry, you're right, Jamie. Thank you. So we had 8 parking spots here. There was a driveway that came in 90 degrees and had some parking. So we removed that, which reduced our parking count. And so Mr. Attorney Peterson filed the request for special permit to reduce the number of spaces for both the Allcoat side of the site and the Garrity side of the site. And those were the revisions. So Paul's been through them. Green International's been through them. We did look through the draft decisions that were provided to us, and I checked off everything is okay. There's a couple of them that have already been done on this latest set of revisions. The two I think that we would like to discuss is condition 16 and condition 18. Condition 16 is requesting that where the existing driveway is abandoned, that we install vertical granite curb from this right edge of the abandoned driveway all the way along the frontage to the proposed driveway. The existing is bituminous berm, which you can see is labeled here across the street in front of the Pepsi property. It's bituminous and it's granite at everybody's entrance, and then continues bituminous up and down Ames Street. So we weren't sure why it was being specifically requested at our project that this section of bituminous berm be removed and replaced with vertical granite. What we had proposed was consistent with the remaining properties on the street, but that's something that we can discuss.
I don't want to speak for the engineer, but I would assume we want the granite because it's a pretty busy road, a lot of trucks, plowing. I think the granite would probably be best there, I would say. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess we can discuss that. And then the second is we went out, we did a speed study. We took the revised, or our traffic consultant, I should say, did a speed study and looked at the stopping sight distances, and due to the actual 85th percentile speed on the street, the driveway location as proposed exceeds both stopping sight and intersection sight distances. Green International is still suggesting a slight realignment to bring the driveway 15 feet over. We're comfortable with the design as proposed. I think that the angle that it's at, it was aligned to be a straight shot in from the existing main driveway of the site. And by keeping it at this slight angle, it makes the right-hand turn exit onto Ames Street easier than if it was rotated counterclockwise 15 feet. It would make that right-hand turn sharper, which would actually force a large vehicle, the tractor-trailer trucks, to encroach more on the oncoming lane than the design that we have shown here. So seeing that we meet and exceed stopping sight and intersection sight distances, we prefer to leave the driveway as designed. The two comments that we had issues with, not issues, just wanted to discuss, poor choice of words, I apologize.
All right.
And then number 34 is just a duplicate of number 23, but we had no issues with the rest of them. Same on the special permit, and yeah, so I think those were the only two of the conditions, proposed conditions to discuss.
Pat, if I may, Mr. Chairman, we also had discussion amongst ourselves this morning about condition number 26, which suggests the installation of a speed feedback sign west of the driveway. We would ask if you want some type of a sign that an alternative be considered, because between the granite In the speed feedback sign, it's probably $30,000 to $35,000. I don't mind putting the sign there, but would ask the board to consider an alternate sign rather than the speed feedback sign.
And Mr. Chairman, Wing Wong from Green International, our peer reviewer for traffic, is on the call. So if you would like to have him speak to anything, he's available to do that.
All right, so what did you want to discuss, Val? The driveway location and the curbing, like Patrick did? Are there other things that you have that you want to talk about?
No, yeah, those were the things that, let me just make sure there wasn't anything else on my list, but I think those were the things. Well, I guess just to take a step back, maybe the applicant could talk about, they are proposing a parking special permit. So they're showing less parking on the site than is required by zoning. And they gave us sort of a rundown on the employee count and how they believe what they're showing is adequate. So maybe they could quickly summarize that for the board.
I would be happy to do that, Val and Mr. Chairman, for the all code site. And it's actually, this was submitted at Sierra's request prior to this evening's meeting. And it's on your findings on page 2 as number 2. For the all code, which would be the western portion of the parcel, there are 44 spaces provided with 87, 44 provided with 87 would normally be required. And the operations currently at all code require approximately 25 spaces. We're actually providing significantly more parking than all code would currently require. And as the permit indicates, it's only good for this site, for the Garrity use and the all code use. For the Garrity use, we're actually providing 59 where 67 are required. We don't anticipate at any time that Garrity will have more than 47 vehicles on site. So for these two proposed uses, although the number of required spaces don't meet the bylaw, they're well in excess of what this site will need on a daily basis.
So, Mr. Peterson, as we move ahead, it might be 10 years down the road and I'm long retired and the site changes, we'll adjust all this?
The answer is yes, but I would suggest that I may be joining you in the retirement field.
Okay.
The answer would be yes.
Okay.
Because the all code use ceases, obviously a different use would require a new site plan review. And
Okay. As long as that's understood, right, Val?
Yeah, we wrote the special permit draft to be specifically for all coat and Garrity. So any changes to that would need to comply or get another special permit.
Okay. It's not that I didn't look at these things. It's just that on a small screen, you know, it's a little different. So, okay. Does the board have any questions?
Nope.
No.
So how does Paul feel about the driveway?
How does Paul feel about the driveway? You know, while we agree that it may be a little bit more ideal to shift it a little bit, as the peer reviewer suggested, we recognize that looks like it does meet the requirements. So it was really something that we felt was up to the board.
And if I may add to, you know, in the previous recommendation that we had recommended probably a pretty aggressive shift, if you will, because of the site distance issue. But now with the site distance sort of resolved, I think there's some possibility if the driveway could just be more angle as opposed to shift at the same time, and that may work with your site, but yet still provide a 90 degrees or perpendicular intersection with Ames Street, which again is more of a typical prefer, if you will. So that's what I would say.
Hey, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just so I can point out what we're talking. So if you took a line from right here where my cursor is,
yeah, we lost you.
Lost
We lost your plan here.
Oh, hold on. Let me try that again. Sorry, I'm falling apart today.
It's all right.
Your screen. Here we go. Share. You got it back?
No,
It's loading.
coming.
It's loading, yeah.
There
we
you
go.
go.
Okay. So if you took a line from here perpendicular to Ames Street, it would intersect here, 9 foot 4 inches over from where we're showing it. So we're talking about rotating this line counterclockwise 9 foot 4 inches to get us exactly perpendicular to the sideline of Ames Street, which I don't disagree with Wing that is ideal to be as close to 90 degrees as possible. And I'm certainly not going to hold up the approval of the project over it. But I honestly believe that if you're in a tractor trailer this way, the harder turn is the right-hand turn, Ames Street. So by this little bit of an angle, it makes that turn easier than if it was completely 90 degrees and then turning. It's going to more encroachment to the onion than as we have it proposed.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Coming out, it makes it a little more difficult.
Coming out, yeah, coming out on the left, going left, you have more room to track. Coming out and going right, that little bit of an angle helps, which is shown in the turning templates that we submitted. You'll see that the rear wheels of the trailer follow pretty close to that curb line. So if we rotate it over, that's fine. The truck can still make the turn. It's just going to have to come further out into the opposing to make the turn. But again, it's not worth arguing. If the board feels strong about rotating it, rotate it on plans that we would prepare for endorsement.
What about the truck coming from the Woburn Street side? Is that an expected movement for you for the use here, or because that that becomes a tighter turn when it's angled like this?
Coming this way
from the right side of the page, yeah, turning right into the
like
space.
that.
And now the intersection.
Yeah, but in that
east
instance,
of here is pretty tough, right, for any truck to negotiate. So I don't know that you're planning on doing that very often, but I mean, it does make that one tougher. So if you tell me that you're not going to do that, then I'm actually on board with the slightly.
well, I'd rather, even if I am going to do that movement, I'd rather encroach on my own site driveway that's going to have less traffic volume to make that right-hand turn in than to come 90 degrees and have to encroach more onto the oncoming traffic in Ames Street.
Yeah, I worry about the encroachment onto the opposite side of Eames Street and then making the right turn. I don't know that the truck driver is always going to go straight and then only turn right. I see people in small cars make the wider turn by going into the other lane, let alone a guy in an 18-wheeler. But
being a truck driver myself and employing truck drivers, you can never imagine what they're going to do. It never ceases to amaze you. But I really think that's. Again,
I understand your argument for the angle, though. I understand that argument because I think that they're going to go that way more often. I would hope.
Okay.
Hope we're trying. We don't want people trying to take that other turn.
Right.
And Pat, I think my latest comment was to encourage the applicant, as I kind of worded, because again, the site distance is resolved. So it's, we encourage you to consider it, our recommendation here. So just want to make that clear.
Wayne, can I ask you, when you did the traffic study, can you tell where the majority of traffic comes from? Does it come from the Woburn Street side or does it come from the Main Street side?
If you could give me a second, I think I can pull that up real quickly.
And I guess while you're doing that, I guess I could ask the applicant, does he anticipate when someone leaves there, will they be going more to the Woburn side or more to the Main Street side?
I think it depends, Mr. Chairman. I mean, I don't.
It's hard to say. Yeah.
I think it depends where we're going. I think if we're trying to go north, we probably would go to Woburn Street, and then south down, onto the Presidential Way, access to 93. Otherwise, we'd probably go west, down 38 to 128.
Okay.
And actually, I think if I remember correctly now, trying to look for it, I don't believe there was a trip distribution shown. I think we did actually have a peer review comment regarding where the traffic would be going. And I believe the follow up with that was they are expected to use both directions. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, okay, so it's pretty even probably.
And I should just clarify too. I mean, we're talking, all code probably runs 5 to 7 53-foot trailers a day. I don't run any tractor trailers. I probably have 3 10-wheel flatbeds coming in for deliveries, and then all of my own personnel is in box, in 14-foot box trucks. So it's not a huge amount of truck traffic regardless.
Okay. Okay. So what else do we want to talk about? The sign? So what are we asking for there, Val?
Wing had commented on this in his peer review letter to install a speed feedback sign west of the proposed site driveway as a traffic calming measure to help reduce the 85th percentile speed. That was a condition that was recommended by the peer review.
Valerie, if I could add, I think that comment was based before the additional speed study was done. And that was one of the mitigation options that is possible that the applicant could do to help reduce the speed as it comes over the bridge. But I think with the new speed data that's performed, that comment, I'm not sure is valid anymore.
Well, that sounds good.
We would agree with that.
So maybe we can work something out with some kind of sign there, Val. Something similar, smaller. I meant to say less expensive. All right, I'll be honest.
Non-flashing. So.
Yeah, maybe we could do that. Does the board have any other questions? I mean, I can live with the way, I guess, I think we can live with the way the driveway is, with the understanding that down the road it probably will be changed a little bit, so. Anybody got any questions or disagreements?
No, I agree, Sean Hennigan. I agree that I'm not overly concerned with the driveway. I get what he's trying to say, coming out and, going in the opposite way where you have more space. So I don't have a issue there at all.
Anything else you want to go over, Val?
I guess the only other thing was the granite curbing, but we can go through that when we go through the draft decisions if you'd like.
Yeah, I think I'd like the curbing.
So do I. Randy.
You're the boss.
My feeling is mostly because given the age of that traffic thoroughfare and 90% of the construction on that road has been done prior to any rules and regs. And it's time to kind of upgrade.
Yeah. The berm doesn't last very long. One good winter. Okay, so I think we're good. You okay, Val?
Yeah, for sure. I think we went over all of the things on my list, and I guess the only other thing would be is whether any of these callers have any comments or questions.
There was no stormwater issues?
Well, we had some small Paul had some comments, and we worked those into the draft decisions as conditions.
And you're good with those, Pat?
Yeah, it's the 2 very minor tweaks that I said at the beginning, the spot grade and then adjusting the water quality volume calculation.
All right.
Extensive stormwater redesign to put a pocket wetland at the rear of the site. And Paul was very helpful with that.
Good. Appreciate you working with him. That's good. Okay. Any questions from the audience?
So far, I don't see any hands raised. And just to remind folks, if they do have a comment or question, it's *9 on your keypad to raise your hand. No raised hands.
Okay, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Terry.
Second, Rondi.
Angela,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Rondi,
Yes, sir.
Terry.
Yes.
Chairman says yes. You want to go over the conditions now?
Sure.
Can you
So
put 'em-
we
Can you
we
put them
have-
up on the screen?
I can do that. Yes. Let me just quickly. So I'll go over the site plan review because that has all of the conditions. We did work to share my screen. We did work some of the other ones into the parking special permit decision and the stormwater decision as appropriate, but the site plan review decision has all of the conditions in it. So our usual opening and materials list, findings, all typical standard conditions, general conditions, all standard conditions. And then prior to endorsement, we get into the list of plan changes, number 8, that the plan be revised to designate one of the accessible spaces in the southwestern parking lot, all coat as van accessible. Number 9, the plan shall be revised to show all proposed dumpsters and compactors on the site. We just wanted to make sure that they're showing all of the dumpsters that they would like to have over there on the off-road site.
Val, I just thought of something. Let me interrupt you for a second.
Sure.
Did we discuss about how this is going to be phased in? I know originally we talked about he can't knock down those other 2 buildings till he builds his new building, and right?
Yeah, so they can jump in if they want to, but I believe the idea is to keep those 2 buildings up, and the parking lots will be constructed around those buildings. So they're still shown on the plan as existing.
Correct.
But do we address that anywhere within the plan set or within the conditions, how everything's going to be done?
They didn't indicate, and they can say so, whether this was going to be phased, but we assumed that it was all going to be done at once, for the new building.
Yes.
I think if you're referring, Mr. Chairman, to the 2 buildings in the middle, I think that, and Jamie, correct me if I'm wrong, those buildings will stay for the immediate future because they're used to heat the all-coat spaces.
Right,
So those
right.
buildings, other than the buildings we're going to remove to construct a warehouse, the all-coat buildings are going to stay right in the middle.
Right.
So this one
They're
would
gonna
stay.
permanently.
So how are we going to
Should stay.
approach this? Is the driveway get done first, the lot, the new building? How's it going to go?
Yeah, so the driveway would have to be constructed first, and then we would close off the old driveway. We would need to demolish 2 existing buildings that are not shown on this plan. One of which is basically located smack dab in the south-facing parking lot, and the other is a warehouse building on the north side of the site where the loading bays are. So those would need to come down. We would need to do some ancillary reworks of MEP to serve all coat as their offices are going to need to consolidate into existing buildings, excuse me, on the west side of the site. So once I can demolish those buildings, then we could start the site work for the construction of the warehouse building, and then obviously close up the current entrance to the site.
Val, they have to do something special when they knock something down?
They'll have to do all the typical demo permit with all of the required approvals from the building inspector. They have to have their erosion controls up prior, and have a pre-construction meeting with us and the engineer.
All right, so I guess when the time comes, that's something they'll work out with Paul then? Jamie? How you
Yeah,
gonna-
yep.
Yeah, how you gonna approach it?
We would.
All right.
Yeah, we asked for a construction sequencing at the pre-construction meeting.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, so we were at number 10. The applicant's engineer should reconcile the erosion control plan sheet, detail sheet, and notes for the proposed construction entrance. There were just some different things said about that. Number 11, note number 10 on sheet 6 shall be revised to include review and approval of the Department of Planning and Conservation for plant substitutions. That's for the pocket wetland. Number 12, the snow storage area in the northeast corner of the property near the proposed Garrity stone dumpsters shall be relocated away from the wetlands or removed from the plan. That snow storage is very close to the wetlands, so we've asked them to relocate that or remove it. 13, the plan shall be revised to include a detail for parking blocks or other physical separation between the vehicle parking spaces and flush sidewalk in accordance with the traffic peer review letter from Wing Wong dated July 30th, 2020. They have shown parking blocks. We'll just ask for a detail for that. Number 14, the plan shall be revised to include finer grading at the at-grade inlet to the infiltration basin. That's the one that Patrick mentioned earlier that Paul had requested. Number 15, the plan shall be revised to include a concrete washout location and detail. The detail shall include an impermeable liner. Number 16, the plan shall be revised to show the abandonment of the existing driveway entrance and the installation of vertical granite curbing along the property frontage from the existing entrance to the proposed entrance. Number 17, the stormwater management report shall be revised to include the proposed rooftop runoff in the water quality volume calculations. The applicant shall adjust the elevation of the overflow embankment in the infiltration basin to provide adequate storage to meet the water quality volume requirement of the policy. And then we're going to get rid of, number 18. So that will go away. And then we go down to, these are typical prior to building permit and prior to start of construction. And I believe I guess the next one we come to that isn't our typical was 25. And we also said we would delete that one. The traffic calming speed sign that is not needed. And then post-construction, 25, the owner has agreed to and shall regularly trim vegetation within the Ames Street right-of-way to maintain sufficient intersection site distance for vehicles in accordance with the traffic peer review letter from Wing Wong dated June 18th, 2020.
Valerie,
Yes.
could we maybe wordsmith that a little bit so it's only along our frontage and not in the future, 5 years from now, somebody's telling us that we have to prune all the way along Ames Street from end to end?
I think that's probably something we can do.
Thank you.
Vegetation along the property frontage.
Perfect.
And the rest of these conditions are standard conditions that we always include. And like I said, if you want me to go over this parking special permit, we can. The stormwater permit draft, we can. But all of the conditions are within this document.
And there's no question on any of those. So you good, Bob, with all these?
We are all, other than what we discussed this evening, Mr. Chairman, we reviewed all the permits this morning and we're fine.
Okay. I will take a motion to accept the conditions as amended.
So moved, Rondi.
Second, Terry.
Angela,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Terry,
Yes.
Rondi.
Yes.
I vote yes. You're all set.
And that's a vote for all three of those decisions, correct?
That's correct.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you all very much.
Good night.
I look forward to a nice building there.
As are we. Thank you. And I do have to give, I just want to take a minute. So we've been doing this at a lot of different towns, trying to hold Zoom meetings and Google meetings. And I just want to commend your departments. They've all done an excellent job, and it's been the easiest town so far. So thank you all very much.
Well, thank you for the kind words.
I guess that's it. So thank you all very much.
Yep.
You're
Take care. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Pat.
Have a good night.
You too.
Hey, Wing, we appreciated your help there.
Thank you. Look forward to the next one.
Hey, thanks. Good comments.
Take care.
Okay. So we had an 8 o'clock continued public hearing, site plan review 20-05, stormwater permit 20-05 for 66 Industrial Way. Who's up?
Is Mr. Cronin here?
Yes, this is Mike Cronin. Can you hear me, Mike?
Yeah,
Yep.
and Mike Field acting as counsel. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry I can't get on the camera, folks.
That's okay.
Technical difficulties over here.
I don't know if Mr. Sutton is here or not. Is he available? Is he on phone? Mr. Sutton representing Mr. Canavos. I'm not sure if he's here or not.
I'm not sure either. We do have some callers. One does have their hand raised. So if the chairman wants me to unmute him, I will.
Sure, please do.
Okay. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, this is Attorney Peter Sutton. I represent the abutter. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Thank you.
All right. So here's the situation. I have a proposal, but I do have something to say prior to my proposal. This is not a routine situation that you've been led to believe. There are changes in pitch and depth. We move from 6 feet above grade to 4 feet below grade. We have tried to negotiate a proposal. We haven't seen any lateral and vertical views. We think there's ledge under there. We have 200 occupants that rely on the sewer, that rely on the sprinkler system, that rely on the water pipe. In the future, there may be an upgrade. So we have a number of things to go over with the proponent, the applicant. We want to know how long it will take for them to change the pipes. How long will our 200 people working at 80 Industrial Way be without these services? We are concerned that if there's blasting, what happens then? We were negotiating what happens if there's a blockage and it isn't fixed right away. And all of these things have been talked about, but we haven't made much progress. And I think what they're asking you to do is allow them to move our pipes without our permission. Now, when you think about it, if somebody wanted to move a gas pipe under their property, you probably wouldn't give them the permit to do that until they got permission of the gas company. And the same is here. The same issue is here. That's our pipe. And we're concerned as to what happens when it's moved. And what they're saying, your original permit said, look, you got to get the approval. You said acknowledgement, but in my parlance, acknowledgement means approval of the abutter, because you're moving the abutter's property, and the town does not want to give you the permission to move somebody's property without their permission. So theoretically, you
all right. Hold on, Mr. Sutton. Hold on. Are you basically telling us we haven't gotten anywhere further from the last 5-6 meetings we've had?
The only thing we've gotten further is I have a solution. And that is, I think the attorneys need to step out of it. And I think Mr. Canavas and his engineer need to meet with Mr. Daigle personally and his engineer and work out these problems. Because I think when you get the lawyers involved, with all due respect, these things get complicated. And Mr. Cannabis wants to be a good neighbor, and he even offered Mr. Daigle, you don't have to do this work. I'll give you 2 parking spaces on 80 Industrial Way so you can park your trucks. And it's just that when the lawyers get involved, there's all sorts, and especially, at one point, Mr. Field talked directly to Mr. Cannabis, which I thought was, inappropriate. And it started off, some hostilities. So I think I would ask that this thing be continued to September 8th and have one last shot to try to resolve all these things. Mr. Cannabis and his engineer should meet and should discuss, maybe the solution is we get an 8-inch pipe instead of a 6-inch pipe, so we don't have to, after the work's done, to redo the work to upgrade it. So those are the issues that are involved here. We don't want to be an obstructionist.
Okay, so we've heard from Mr. Sutton. What do you have to say, Mr. Cronin?
Well,
So,
may I respond first? Can council respond first to?
Absolutely. Yep.
Mr. Chairman, may I respond?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. This matter has been lingering before you guys for 3 years. There's been 3 or 4 meetings. I don't recall the exact number.
Yep.
Mr. Cannabis came to each one of them and smiled and said nothing whatsoever. At one meeting, I exchanged some pleasantries with Mr. Cannabis, which probably I shouldn't have because he's represented by Mr. Sutton. Mr. Sutton did not come to any meeting. For the last 3 years, I've been trying to deal with Mr. Sutton. I've sent him 60 emails. He's seen the lateral plans. He's seen all kinds of plans. Our engineers have met. Mr. Cronin has been present when the engineers met. What will happen, Mr. Cannabis will make a statement. I wasn't there, but I'm told to the effect, if I don't have to agree to this, why should I? He's anything but a reasonably good neighbor. 3 years this has been going on. My engineer tells me that there are already, in all probability, a small elbow in the pipe where we want to make the change. The elbow is going to be, yes, a couple of feet larger, a couple of feet longer. This is a minimal change to a long stretch of pipe. Mr. Cronin will tell you that this can probably be done on a weekend. There's no blasting. All of a sudden, Mr. Sutton is talking about blasting with no fact basis for that. No blasting will be done. If blasting were to be done, it has to be done with permits. You can't blast without a permit. It will be supervised by the building department, by the fire chief, but there will be no blasting. This is a very small job. It can be done on a weekend if water and sewer service is needed during the weekend to the tenants who are in there during the weekend, we can arrange that too. This is the kind of, a kind of a construction project that goes on all over America where 2 neighbors have to get along. We have the right to use our property and to reasonably, increase the utility of our property to us. And really, in all due respect, 3 years is enough. I don't think we should be doing any more negotiating. Mike, you want to?
May I respond?
Well, wait a minute. No, I'm getting my bearings here a second. Mike, Cronin, did you want to say something?
Yes, Mr. So, in regard to a few comments, I'd like to touch on a couple of the concerns. First, schedule of work. Actually, 2 or 3. Secondly, inconvenience of the workers and inhabitants of 80 Industrial Way. And then third, the blasting. So first, construction schedule. One thing that we always do in utility work is we install the new work next to the old, or in a fashion that supports the old, while the existing system operates. And then you do what's called a cutover point. And those cutover points for sewer, for drainage, for water are done at strategic moments. First of all, that don't put the inhabitants of the building at risk. So most likely sewer cutover over a weekend, a Saturday, a Sunday. Water the same, and drainage even simpler than that, because drainage is drainage. There's only drainage running when there's water flowing. We would also do that strategically. So our work plan would be probably through the week. We'd prepare for a weekend cutover of one utility, one or two of the utilities, be it sewer or drainage. Probably the second weekend when the inhabitants aren't in the building, or it's minimal. And I don't know what the occupancy load of that building is, if it's 24/7, if it's 5 days a week, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. We're unaware of that, but we will work around whatever the schedule is of the employees of the buildings so that we least impact them. That's primary. So from a schedule standpoint, we see this work taking about 2 weeks, but not 2 weeks. Downtime only at a strategic position. Second issue is not downtime. I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Sorrentino. I'm sorry, Mr. Sorrentino, did you have something to say?
No, you're breaking up. It's a little difficult, but
all right,
it's okay.
All right. Secondly, obviously, we'd like to understand the inhabitants and what the schedule is of the individuals up on the hill. From a blasting standpoint, we wouldn't blast, most likely. It's too critical of nature. Buildings are too close. We would most likely use a hydraulic hammer. If there was any ledge there, we don't know that. We have dug in that hill, and it's mostly shot rock from previous blasting that's taken place. So we don't really anticipate a heavy ledge issue. So those are a few comments that I have to at least respond to Mr. Sutton's comments.
All right, I'll let you speak one more time, Mr. Sutton. Then we're going to move on. Go ahead.
The only point I'm trying to make is after 3 years, this is the first that we've heard about these proposals, and that's why I think one more meeting would resolve everything. But I don't think the town could grant a permit to allow somebody to relocate somebody else's pipes without court approval, as that would be a breach of peace and that would be a trespass. And I think that, like my analogy to the gas pipes, you wouldn't let them move gas pipes without permission of the gas company. So my proposal is that the engineers meet, and Mr. Field said they don't want to meet. So, I'll leave it up to the town at this point. Thank you for letting me speak.
Peter, we've been already. It happened a long time ago.
All right. Does
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, this really is a private matter between two neighbors. We're
Yeah.
not going to commit a breach of the peace out there. Mr. Sutton will be down at the courthouse and we'll get a restraining order. I've told the board on several occasions, we may very well have to go to the land court. But at least when I go to the land court and the judge asks me, have you received your municipal permissions? I will say, yes, we have. I'm not going to go to the land court and ask permission to move pipes when there's no issue.
Okay.
We can't move pipes without getting permit from the town.
Okay, thank you. All right, does anybody on the board have anything to say? Sean, Terry?
I guess I'm still trying to understand what we're voting on.
We're going to vote on closing the public hearings, what we're going to vote on.
Any members of the audience or any callers have any questions, they can raise their hand. We do have
Outside of
two callers
Mr.
on.
Sutton, we've already heard from him, so we know where he stands.
I don't have any raised hands.
Okay. So I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
I do now have a raised hand.
Okay, who is that?
All right, I will unmute. Caller, go ahead.
This is Arthur Cannabis. How are you?
Good, Arthur. How are you?
Not too bad.
I hope you're staying healthy.
No comments.
Okay.
No comments. People have had their problems. I've got mine.
All right. Good. Make it quick.
I'm going to request that I have one meeting without the attorneys with Mr. Daigle, his engineer, and my engineer. When I requested that Mr. Daigle come to a meeting with me, my engineer, my project manager, my secretary, and the person who does my site work, he was nowhere to be found. Instead, they sent Mr. Cronin. When I went over the deal myself on a blackboard in their offices, I asked my engineer, I asked the people who did the work for me, and I asked Mr. Cronin, I said, what advantage do I have in having you bury my pipes roughly 8 to 10 feet below where they are? When I explained to him that the issue is not so much with how they want to change it or how they want to change the location. The issue is, how do I get to my pipes after they do what they have to do in order to bury the pipes 10 feet below the grade that they're located now? It's no different than me wanting to fix something on the side of a house. I can certainly fix something on the side of the house a hell of a lot easier than I can under the foundation. That's the analogy that I can use in this particular case.
I'm not understanding, though. You're not giving up any easement rights. Why wouldn't you still have access to your pipes? What changes?
Well, number one, there's a lock fence there. Number two, they're going to park their trucks there. Number three, how do I get there on an emergency basis? I want to be able to discuss this with Mr. Daigle, not the attorneys. I want Daigle with one meeting with his engineer and me with my engineer. If I can't make a deal with him, look, I've made deals all my life, guys. I've made hundreds of deals, thousands of deals. I get along with everybody in town also, I might add. I've done tons of stuff for the town, as most of you people know. But this has really got my goat, because nobody really knows the scope of the problem. And the issue is the potential future benefit of the property is affected tremendously by us changing the pipes there now. I want to upgrade the pipes, not with Mr. Fields telling me there's a 6-inch pipe there, I'm only going to put a 6-inch pipe back. That doesn't work. If the future potential benefits of the property are affected, it affects me and the value of the property. I don't want to have to go in there and dig again. If we're going to go ahead and dig, let's dig with the idea that we're going to put in the size pipes for a larger development up at the top of the hill. Whether you people realize it or not, that property was zoned for 510,000 square feet of first-class office space. And if some of you want to come on a tour with me, we'll go up on the top of the roof. You can see downtown Boston. I refuse, absolutely refuse, to allow somebody to move my pipes without me getting my word in edgewise as to what the real issues are. So with all due respect to the attorneys who've never dug a ditch in their life, with all due respect to Mr. Cronin, who hasn't got the slightest idea what the property is really worth and the highest and best use, I want to have one meeting. I'm going to ask Mr. Cronin to be at that meeting if you're the engineer, and I'm also going to ask the attorney to make sure the meeting happens, to make sure that Daigle does show up.
Right,
I can show up anytime.
But Arthur, you can do all of that without bothering this board. So that's something you guys can work out. So we don't need to be a participant in this
for a
part.
continuance of the hearing for 30 days, so I have one meeting. If you go ahead and vote this particular issue tonight without my approval, number one, I'll be greatly disappointed in the board. That's first and foremost. I've appeared in front of all these boards at least 50 or 60 times.
Yeah, I know that. I know that. And I know that. And you've appeared, and this has been going on for a long time. And you had your chances. It's taken up a lot of the board's time. It's time for us to move on and you guys to work this out. This is really a private matter between you guys. So you had your say. That's good. So we're going to move on. So as the board, again, that's it. We're not hearing from anybody else. So let's move on. As a board, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Sorry.
Second, Rondi.
Angela,
Yes.
Rondi,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Sean?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
I vote yes. Public hearing's closed. So what do you want to do now? Go over these conditions, Val?
Yeah, if I could just kind of, for those who maybe weren't here when this went through the first time, this is a project to, the property owners looking to expand the maneuverability around the corner of their building and move utilities that are in an easement area. We did approve this a few years ago. It's back again for some revisions. I did talk to our town council about this draft decision that's before you, and I will pull it up on the screen right now. So this is to approve that utility work on their property and expanding the I guess the driveway around the building. And these are all the standard things. The findings are standard. And then we get to the general conditions. And number 8 is a condition that was added to this approval with consulting with council. It states that the applicant has submitted a utility plan dated November 22nd, 2016. This permit does not grant or alter any property rights. It shall be the responsibility of the applicant to ensure that it has the right and ability to undertake the work authorized under this permit. And then you'll see the next condition that's prior to endorsement. We did tweak this a little bit with some feedback that we got from the applicant. It states that the applicant shall provide proof to the Department of Planning and Conservation that notification of the project has been sent to the adjacent landowner via certified mail. So that way we have proof that something was sent to the landowner. I think we do know that everyone's aware of the work. And as our council stated, as has been stated tonight, this is really a private matter that they'll need to work out.
So Val, you don't want to have a return receipt from that certified mail that's sent, that someone's actually signed for it?
Well, the trouble we run into with that is that they could refuse to pick it up.
Well, usually they bring it right to the front door and have them sign.
Yeah, we've had a little trouble with that with our conservation side of things where folks don't, the mail person doesn't have someone sign for it. So we didn't want to complicate and chance that it's not signed. But we can require that. It's just that we thought that might, we might run into the same problem as we did before.
Okay. Take a motion to accept the draft as submitted. Condition, excuse me. Take a motion to accept the conditions as submitted.
So moved, Rondi.
Second, Terry.
Angela?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Rondi?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Chairman, yes. All set. Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, let me just say one thing. I appear before a lot of planning boards and zoning boards of appeal. Your staff has been just so organized and tremendous. Valerie and Cheryl and Sienna, they've been great. I think you're very lucky to have a staff like that.
So, thank you very much.
Compliments. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Can move on. Good, Val?
Good.
All right. Sierra, I think you're up. We'll do the Board of Appeals.
All right, sorry, I had to shut off my AC. It was a little bit loud. Okay, so the only Board of Appeals case is actually for 100 Eames. And it's just for the groundwater protection district exceeding the 15%. They currently do And they're actually reducing it by a little under like 0.5%. As far as I know, Paul doesn't have any outstanding comments on that, right, Valerie? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that they should. I think everything is fine. The proposed mitigation for that runoff is adequate.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
All right, what do you want to do next, Val?
Oh, you guys want to vote on that one?
It's already part of ours, so we're good.
Okay. All right. We do have a decision for the sign special permit that you saw last meeting for 196 Ballardville Street. That was for the sign on the front and another sign on the back of the building, since it has sort of multiple sides to it. We don't have any, let me just check this to make sure. We don't have any special conditions in this. It was just approving those 2 wall signs that are 52.5 square feet each. I can pull it up.
Do you want us to make a vote on that, or are we
Yes,
good?
please. Yes, please. A vote.
All right. I'll take to accept the special permit for 20-01 for the 2 signs on 196 Ballardville Street.
So moved, Rondi.
Second, Terry.
Sean, how are you doing?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Angela,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Rondi,
Yes.
chairman votes yes.
Boom.
Good. All right, how we doing on Mr. Castellano, 19-02 for Highland Estates?
So we have new Mylars for you all to sign. Unfortunately, the engineer made some errors in the bearings. So when Paul went to kind of close out the right-of-way with the description, it didn't close. So Jack, their engineer, went back and redid all of the bearings. So nothing physically changes. It's just that he had the bearings wrong. So he had to redo it.
So we got to come in and sign them again?
Yeah, unfortunately, if you could just vote to endorse that, and then we can get your signatures on those plans when you're available.
Take a motion to endorse the definitive subdivision plans, 19-02 for Highland Estates.
I'll move, Terry.
Second, Rondi.
John,
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Angela,
Yes.
Rondi,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
chairman votes yes. All right.
I have one question. How many sheets are in that set? And if I'm gonna have to sign outside on a picnic table, you're gonna have to put a tent over the table.
We'll work something out. I think we have a spot that we can have you sign them.
Okay.
There's a bunch of sheets, yeah. But we will find you a comfortable spot.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
If it's 4 sheets, I'd do it outside, but 100 sheets, no way.
All right, what's this request to waive site plan review for 400 Research Drive? What's this about?
Okay, this is Sierra. You help me out if I get this at all wrong, but this is a request for a new concrete pad for, I believe it's equipment for a business that's already located in this building. I think they're fairly new, but it's a proposed concrete generator pad within this grass area right here. So they're going to put down some gravel. They're going to do a pad, and they showed us. There's also, Sierra, is this transformer pad also new or not? Over on the side.
Where's that?
So right over here outside the circle.
Oh, I see.
I think it's just the generator pad.
Yeah, to my knowledge, that's existing. They only mentioned one in their description, and it really focused on laying the gravel, and then they're going to put the excavation and preparation of lawn for a precast pad. So I'm guessing that other one is existing, and the one that's labeled proposed should be the only one that is actually, in fact, proposed.
So it's a 13-foot by 5.8-foot pad, and they showed us that parking is not impacted and that they still meet their open space requirement. So this is really a really small change that we believe is fine.
I just,
okay.
I was going to say, I just have one question, because usually if it's an outdoor generator, it has to have a flue. There can't be any windows near the flue, that kind of thing. I just want to make sure that the inspector follows up on that sort of stuff.
Okay.
And an emergency shut off.
Actually, I think the exhaust has to be 3 feet above the
roof,
the highest point of the roof, or some ridiculous thing like that. So
yeah.
Yeah, not if they move it far enough away. I mean, there's all kinds of rules for that. The issue though is that comes up is I can't see it on this plan, but where's the nearest neighbor? I mean, the topography can cause the, what does that say?
that's all in industrial. That's all industrial over there, though, right?
Yeah, that's not where that one neighborhood backs up to Research Drive, though, right? That's not there.
I don't believe so.
They get a test like once a week, but
I think they might be like on the end of the cul-de-sac and not near.
Yeah.
Either way, either way, it's not close enough to.
Yeah, right. It's kind of
all the way across. It's not. Yeah, it's not on the property.
They're right at the end of the circle, just for reference. They're the like Fiorenza Drive, maybe what you're talking about, and that's it's like south of them, south and east of them, so they are not immediately abutted by residences. Looks like.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Reminded me, he's right. It gets exercise, so make sure the exercise is done between 10 and 11 in the morning. You know.
And the screen is always helpful, but it looks like Frito-Lay is next door.
Yeah. So, okay. Take a motion to request the waiver.
So moved. Rondi.
Second, Terry.
Angela?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Terry?
Yes.
Rondi?
Yes.
Chairman's yes. So be it. Request to release surety for 16 Longview Road, excuse me. 81G application.
So we received a memo from Paul on this, and he is recommending that you do not release it quite yet. The work was done in May, and we typically hold it for a certain time. The decision for this one says 12 months, which would be May of next year. So Paul is recommending that we keep that surety, which is an amount of just $2,000, $255. Keep that until the condition is met.
Okay, he's still waiting for the final as-built too, which usually comes in first.
Right.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to deny this request and they can bring it back in a year.
Take a motion to deny the request as advised by the town engineer. How's that?
Well, wait a minute. It's supposed to be held at least until May. I mean, if they can't bring it back for a year, that's adding an extra 3 months to that.
I guess I meant when the year is up, when their 12 months is.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Want to make sure denial wasn't gonna.
Right. No, we don't want to extend it.
Yeah.
Right. But he doesn't get his money unless he turns in his as-built plan.
Right.
And all the monuments were installed, which is customary, which is what he's saying. So, okay.
I just didn't think you wanted to table it for a year.
Right. No. Right. We don't want to do that. So give me a motion, Rodney.
I move that we deny the request for release of surety until May of 2021.
Second.
Okay. Angela?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Terry?
Yes.
Randy?
Yes.
Chairman's yes.
Randy's not here.
I mean, Rondi. Sounded like the president. I mispronounced another name. What can I say?
Okay. got it.
Request to release surety for 4 Leslie Street.
So this one, Paul has recommended that you release it. It's an amount of $4,643. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Does it add up? Let me check. I don't know. Cheryl's quiet tonight, so I can't say if she added it up for me. Okay, take a motion to release the surety for 4 Leslie Street at $4,643.
So
The
moved.
letter
Sorry.
says 33.
Good. Sean,
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Angela,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Rondi.
I just want to note that the letter requested 4683 to be released.
Yeah, well,
I'm missing something?
can't add.
Okay, well,
Where does it say 4683?
Yeah.
in the letter,
Well, the right
in
number is
the letter to us.
4683.
All right.
Yeah.
It's approved.
And the motion was for 4643 too.
All right.
Well, that's what Paul says he has, so we'll go with what he says.
Okay.
Math does check out on here if all those 3 numbers are correct. That, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All set.
And then just one additional thing, if I could, Mr. Chairman.
Mhm.
We are, the town is submitting a grant application for funding to complete a municipal vulnerability preparedness plan, an MVP plan, and an update to our hazard mitigation plan. We're doing those as one process because they talk about a lot of the same things. And we would love to have the planning board's support in a form of a support letter for our planning grant application signed by the chairman, if you all are fine with that. We would be getting into the process over the winter and over the next year. And I can answer any questions, but basically it's cataloging our hazards, not only our current hazards, but what the climate science data tells us are going to be our future hazards, and how things may be more extreme and how we can plan for that.
Yeah, no problem.
You talking hazards like flood plains and stuff?
Yeah, flooding, temperature, but our big one is flooding, really. We don't have coastal flooding, but we do have some flooding with low-lying areas like Wildwood or some of our culverts in large storm events. And what it's going to be in the future with additional rainfall amounts and looking at all of our hazards, which include, wind damage from storms and potentially tornadoes. They're all cataloged.
So it's all based on natural stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Should be fun.
Yeah.
All right. Great.
So I agree.
Sounds great.
Okay. Thank you.
So when I come in to sign the other stuff, I can sign the letter.
Perfect. I'll have it ready for you.
All right. Anything else?
That's all we have.
Yay! Move to adjourn.
So are we starting to do Woburn Street over at Lowell? I see the sign up there. We getting ready to do some work?
Not quite yet. Not quite.
They're putting utility works in Woburn.
Right?
Yeah, they did they hooked up the pump station on Lowell Street with the gas line, finally. And I think they're doing some utility work. They've done some test pits and some borings, but we're still finalizing the plans for Woburn Lowell Street intersection. But they should be 100% this year. We're just waiting for our 25% design public hearing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Boy, got any questions?
Can we comment now about any of the releases, or is that?
We probably shouldn't.
Okay.
It's not on the agenda.
Okay.
But give me a call.
All right.
All right. I'll be in touch
All right.
about that.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Night.
Good night.